So now the next video is now to know roughly how much water my drip irrigation system needs, maybe per 30 minutes or per hour, something like that. So what I need first of all is to count the number of holes or emitters I have in the whole system. And after knowing all the number of all holes or all emitters, I can easily now multiply the discharge of one emitter to get the whole discharge needed maybe per unit time. So now I have my system. Taking an example, here I have an emitter, a built-in emitter. So I need to know how much it releases per unit time. That's why I have some simple tools which are going to help me to know the discharge of one emitter. Once I have the discharge of one emitter, this is my system, I can easily now know the discharge or how much water should I release per maybe per hour and so on. So simply here I have like tools that I'm going to use, which are simple. Roughly I will take 2 holes and make maybe an average. So these are 2 containers that I will use, and each container I will put a container below a given emitter. Then I release water, I open water, so that I will do like this. I can do like this. Then I open my water. Then this emitter will release some water during maybe a unit time. Let's say I will take maybe per hour. Water is opened, is just falling in this container. Then later we measure water retained in this container to know how much water this emitter has released, maybe during an hour, something like that. So after collecting water from 2 different emitters or from 2 different holes, I will do the average. Water retained in the first container will be maybe added to the second water retained in this, then divided by 2 in order to get an average water released per unit time of my holes or my emitters in my drip irrigation system. So to measure how much water has been retained, so I have a simple, I should maybe buy next time maybe a measuring cylinder or a graduated cylinder to accurately measure volume of water retained. But today I have a simple home, I can say I'm going to use simple methods. This bottle generally has a capacity of maybe, let's say, when it is full, it can be filled by 500 milliliter of water. So I will use this maybe for measuring. In case I have a small quantity of water like 10 milliliter or less, I can also use a simple one. I got this from the pharmacy or from the hospital. This can be also used to measure small quantity of liquids. You see, we have 2.5. The first graduation is 2.5 milliliter, the second 5 milliliter, and the third 10 milliliter. This is also the one that I use when I want to measure some pesticide to be mixed with water and so on. I measure using this simple container, small container. And then for, of course, measuring my time, when I open water here, I will immediately start, once water fills the whole pipe, the big pipe you see there, once it is filled with water, and when the first drop started to fall from the emitter or the hole, I will start my stopwatch. So here I have a stopwatch that I will use, like this one. This is the one that I will use. Clicking on it, it will start immediately counting. So I will maybe use this one as a stopwatch. So now you see that I have simple tools that I can use to know the discharge from each emitter from my drip irrigation system. Here we go. Now let us go to install. So now one container, the first container is this. It is somehow some meters from the water source. It is somehow close, let's say 5 meters from the water source. It is here, and another container somehow is here close to this first drip line coming here. It is now here, it is here, this is it. So now we are going to measure our discharges from these two containers. It's now time to start our irrigation system. Let us open so that water can flow. Now water is flowing toward our system. So now we can start our stopwatch because water is now falling in our emitter, from our emitter. So now we have the time running and the water is entering in our system. So we will stop maybe after 1 hour or something like that, and measure the quantity retained in each container. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Now it is almost 1 hour is almost elapsed, and since we opened our water toward our two containers, it is now time to close the system and measure the retained volume of water in the two containers that we have. So now it's almost time. Let us now close the system. Now close the system and go to measure our water, retained water, to see what has been retained in the two containers that we have. So this is now the water retained in the first container. This is it. We have closed our water. Let's go to the second container. Now let us look at the water retained in our second container. It is this. Let us see. Let us go and measure as well. So now we have our two containers filled with water, container 1 and container 2, and we have our measuring devices. We have a small bottle which has 500 milliliter once it is filled, and for small quantity of liquid we have our graduated container which can measure something in milliliters. Now it's time to measure each container and we will show what we have found after. Let us continue with our calculations. Now it is clear that we have measured our volume, the volume retained in the two containers. Remember, one container was at the end of one drip line in the plot of cabbages, and another second container has been placed in another field which had nearly some dodo. They are called dodo in our mother tongue, or amaranthus. So we have tried to record or measure the volume retained in each container, and in the first container we have come up with 630 milliliter or 0.63 liters for that emitter. One emitter recorded this, while the second container recorded this volume 652 or 652 milliliter or 0.6652 liters per hour. Remember that these are the volumes that we have recorded during 1 hour. So what is needed now, we want to know the total water required by this system in 1 hour. So how much water should we apply if we want to apply water during 1 hour? So which means that we need all numbers of emitters in that system. So coming up with this drawing, you see that we have our tank. We have the main line which is here, on which different drip lines are connected to. So we have this portion has the dodo or amaranthus plant, and the down or the part has carrots, and this big portion has cabbages. And you see we have tried just to indicate the number of drip lines per plot. In these cabbages we have 15 these lines. We mean drip line 1, drip line 2, drip line 3, and so on. We have in total 15 drip lines in this plot, and per drip line we have 45 emitters, meaning what? On this emitter we have 1, 2, 3 emitters up to 42, and so on 42. If you want to know the total number of emitters, it's a matter of taking the number of drip lines times the number of emitters per drip lines. So, and we have the discharge. If you want, you can immediately know the discharge per plot. So for this part of cabbages, if you want to know the total liters per hour, you can take the number of drip lines, 15, times 42, number of emitters per one drip line, now times the discharge of one emitter. So meaning that we have 0.63. If we multiply, we take that 15 times 42 times 0.63, meaning that we get what? We get nearly almost 400 liters. 400 liters. So when it comes to this part, we also do the same. We have our 6 drip lines, these vertical ones, and we have 28 emitters per one drip line according to our installation. So to get the total liters per hour in this second portion, now we have 6 times number of emitters per drip line times what? Times the discharge of 1 emitter in this portion, 652, and we get 6 times 28 times 0.652, we get nearly 110 liters. It It is small portion compared to that one. And if we come to carrots, we take a number of drip lines, 12 times 24 emitters per drip line. If we want to calculate, then we get the total number of liters times 0.652. In this case, we get 12 times 24, 12 times 24 times 0.652. We come up with nearly 190 liters. So in the brief, we have these liters required by carrots per hour. These liters required by amaranthus of dodo per hour, and we have these liters required by our cabbage per hour. In total, we can say that the whole system, the whole still system, if we want, we can calculate immediately to get the total liters required by our system. So let us calculate and find out the liters required. So meaning that we take 400 liters plus 110 liters plus 190. So in total we need what? So 400 plus 110 plus 190. In general, it's around 700 liters. So meaning our whole system per hour applies nearly 700 liters per hour. So that's it. This is the quantity of water we need per hour in the whole system. So this is simple how we have come up with the total liters, the total quantity of water per hour needed by our system. It is simple. First of all, let us find out the average flow rate per emitter. Average flow rate per emitter, which will be 0.63 liters plus 0.652 liters over 2. Then we get 0.63 plus 0.652 divided by 2. Generally, this is the average flow rate per emitter. Per hour, per emitter. For one emitter, we have this discharge. So now, what are we going to do? What can we do now is just a matter of calculating the flow rate, or the volume required in each portion of the our system. So in this case, we have our cabbages and we have average flow rate per emitter. It's now a matter of calculating the volume of water required per hour. If you look at this now, what can we do? So the flow rate here is taking just 15 drip lines, number of drip lines in this plot, times number of emitters per drip line. On one drip line we have 42 emitters times the discharge of one emitter, 0.641, which means that here we have times 15 times 42. we have nearly 400 and something. 15 times 42 times 0641. We have nearly 404 liters for cabbages. And coming to this amaranthus or dodo, this small portion, now 6 drip lines times number of emitters per drip lines times the discharge, the average discharge, which is 0.641, which makes us to get 6 times 28 times 0.641. Here we have nearly 108 nearly liters for amaranthus or dodo. Let's now go to carrots, this portion of carrots, which takes 12 drip lines, for which is horizontal, times 24 emitters per drip line times the discharge 0.641, making it to have 12 times 24 times 0.641. Here we have 18 nearly 5 liters. So nearly carrots will need these liters, amaranthus or dodo will need these liters per hour, and our cabbage needs these liters per hour on average. So if you want to get the total volume required to be discharged from this tank, you can just briefly just do this. So in a total, let's just find the total volume required in the whole field. So it's this liter from cabbage plus this from dodo plus 185 from carrots. If we summarize, 404 plus 108 plus 185, in total we get 697 liters, nearly 700 liters for the whole system. Thank you. This is briefly how we can calculate the total volume of water we need per hour in the whole system. So thank you. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.